Why was the 12-team playoff so bad?
This is the Halftime Sports Talk Show with your host, Reese Kinder.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of the Halftime Sports Talk Show. I'm your host, Reese Kinder, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful start to your week. Christmas is almost here. Christmas is in 2 days. Can't wait for that, obviously. Spend time with some family and friends, but a lot of good sporting news going on right now. Sorry about last week. Could not do it. I had a lot of stuff going on. Had finals and stuff. Actually did get my wisdom teeth removed on Friday last week, so that's a relief now. Finally, I can, not be in pain, not in as much pain as I was a few days ago. But we do got a lot to talk about, and it's gonna have to start with college football like we always do. We always started off with some college football, and that's gonna be the topic of the day, I think, honestly. With the way things have gone this past week. Excuse me. Sorry, I've been coughing lately. But as you could tell, this past week we did go through the 12-team playoff. The last episode, actually, we did break down the 12-team playoff, kind of predicted who we wanted to win and who we thought would win and stuff like that. But all I gotta say is 12-team playoff was terrible. That was the worst thing I've ever watched. I like the format. Like, I like the way the games, you got 12 teams in there, but I'm sorry, like, that was not a good 12-team playoff. We had the first game on Friday night between Indiana and Notre Dame. That game was 27-17, but Notre Dame actually should have won that game by like 40. Indiana caught up at the end kind of a little bit, but it didn't do anything. And yeah, honestly, if there was one thing I had to take away from this 12-team playoff, I like the format and everything. Like I said, like the 12 teams. But honestly, I got to say, a home field advantage, I don't like it. Most people like it because, oh yeah, you get campus atmosphere, you get the fans rowdy and everything. And then obviously Penn State, you got Mo Bamba playing, and then you got the Irish music playing for Notre Dame. That was pretty cool, but still, I mean, you're gonna have this every year, honestly, if you keep going to home field advantage. And I honestly think the 12-team playoff, what they need to do, the committee needs to look back at this first round and kind of analyze it a little bit and be like, we could get some big major like companies to sponsor some bowl games and we could play them in NFL stadiums during this time. Like, you could always get like a sponsor like Kia, and you could play that somewhere, or you could get a sponsor from like Home Depot, since College Game Day always is sponsored by Home Depot. That little things like that could go into the 12-team playoff. I just think, honestly, the first round was not the best. I didn't like that at all. I like the way it was formatted. Like I said, 12 teams, but you know, everybody was like, at the start, they were like, oh, well, Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Miami should have gotten in over Indiana and SMU if this happened. It's not the case. You saw Tennessee get blown out by Ohio State at Ohio State, and a lot of people thought that'd be a close game. So basically, I like the thing I saw on Instagram a few days ago after the 12-team playoff matchups. It said the SEC is like 1,347 in hypotheticals, which means they're kind of just like, everybody's like, well, hypothetically, if this game happened, this would happen, this would happen. That's the thing. Nobody's going to be happy either way. That's why probably eventually they're going to expand it to 16 teams. I don't know when. Probably about 2026, I'd say, is probably when they do it. But honestly, the 12-team playoff, let's just kind of go into some of the matchups. Like I said, Indiana, Notre Dame. You saw that game was 27-17. And kind of let's just break down the stats of both quarterbacks. Curtis Rourke did not have his best game. He had a 63.6 QBR. And then he also he had 20 completions on 33 attempts, 215 yards, an average about 6 yards a pass. He did throw 2 touchdown passes late in the game, but that didn't really matter at that point. It kind of just eliminated everything. And then Riley Leonard actually had a pretty good game as well. He was 23 for 32, 201 passing yards, had one touchdown pass and one interception, and has 66.8 QBR. Um, but honestly, yeah, I mean, the main story in the game between Notre Dame and Indiana was the running game. Jeremiah Love rushed for 108 yards and 8 carries, had a 98-yard touchdown run, which was a heck of a touchdown run from Jeremiah Love. And then Riley Leonard had a touchdown run. He had 30 yards on the ground. Jadarian Price had 32 yards on the ground. So this running game for Notre Dame was pretty big, pretty significant too, to the reason they won. Really though, sorry, excuse me. Really though, what kind of took away from Indiana winning this game was the fact that honestly, I mean, so the way it started out, Leonard threw a pass and it got tipped, and Indiana got the interception, got the ball at about the Notre Dame 45, and then boom, after that, looked like Indiana was going to go down and score, and then they throw a pick, and yeah, it just basically ruins everything, cancels it out, and that's the thing. You're gonna have like people could say whatever they want, but this is what's gonna happen when you have smaller teams. Honestly, Indiana, 11-1, whatever. They're a smaller team than Notre Dame. They haven't been historically good at football like Notre Dame has been, and they came into an environment that was 80,000 people, and you're not used to that. And you saw what happened. Indiana just got blown out of the water and got embarrassed, especially after Kirk Cignetti was like, "We beat the shit out of top 25 teams." He may say that, but they didn't beat a top 25 team this year. So Indiana, I mean, great season from the Hoosiers. I hope to see them back again in the 12-team playoff next year. Kirk Cignetti's definitely built a great program down there in Bloomington, Indiana. And Notre Dame as well. Notre Dame's moving on to play Georgia, which we will talk about that soon after we get through kind of these first round matchups. But yeah, Indiana, Notre Dame, 27-17. Pretty good game for the Fighting Irish, so they will move on to these semifinals, or not the semifinals, the quarterfinals of the college football playoff. One of the games, though, that was very interesting was Texas and Clemson. That game, I kind of, for some reason, I had a weird feeling about this game. I thought that maybe Texas could possibly lose after what happened to Georgia, but I was definitely wrong. Clemson did play a pretty good game. Cade Klubnik went 26 for 43, 336 passing yards and 3 TDs. But it was no match for Texas's 38 points that they put up. And Texas, what a game by them. They got a huge win at home in Austin. They'll move on and they'll play Arizona State in the Peach Bowl on New Year's Day. That should be a fun game too. And honestly, I mean, if you look at the scheduling too, like the way everything is formatted, you could see that like Texas and Arizona State are really not a fair matchup either. That's kind of like an Indiana or SMU game. Like maybe Texas blows them out. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, Texas Clemson 38-24. Clemson did kind of come back towards the end, but same scenario. Texas got a huge touchdown to end up inevitably winning this game. So Texas will face Arizona State in the Peach Bowl on New Year's Day. So that should be a fun matchup. And yeah, that was the first round. That was the other first round game on Saturday. Another one on Saturday, which was the first one of the day, I thought was going to be exciting. It was not. It actually was for a little bit. But Penn State and SMU, this game was kind of heartbreaking for the Mustangs. SMU, anybody can say what they want. Oh, yeah, they didn't deserve it, whatever. Yes, they did. SMU deserved to make it over anybody. I know they could be like, oh, well, they got blown out. But really, if you take away Kevin Jennings' like turnovers, then I think SMU stands a chance because SMU's defense proved that they could stop Penn State until later in the game. Because later in the game, you saw SMU kind of started to wear off a little bit and they were tired and everything. But at the start of the game, SMU's defense was getting stops. And, I mean, SMU's offense could have moved the ball but ended up turning it over. Kevin Jennings threw 2 pick sixes, which got Penn State a huge lead to start the game. And that was just heartbreaking for the Mustangs. and the final score of that game was 38-10. It was I'd say honestly, like I said, the home field advantage thing is definitely a problem because Penn State, that like SMU's never been in a stadium that big before, and you could tell it got to them a lot. The crowd was loud. Jennings could not hear the play calling in his helmet, so it's very hard for SMU to get a playoff at all. But honestly, that first round game was just another blowout, and that was very disappointing to see between SMU and Penn State. And yeah, Penn State will be playing Boise State. And I'll give you my take on that later when we go to that. But yeah, that's going to be a good game between Penn State and Boise State. So should be a fun one in the Fiesta Bowl. Sorry, coughing again. But then our final playoff matchup, this one kind of this one was not even close at all. Like it was a blowout from the start. Ohio State and Tennessee. Actually, this is the funny thing. A lot of Tennessee fans traveled from Knoxville up to Columbus to watch Tennessee play Ohio State, and they left early. Will Howard 24 for 29, 311 passing yards, 2 TDs. And then Tennessee obviously did not. They only scored 17 points, and 10 of them came in the second quarter. But yeah, this game here was never close. Ohio State steamrolled Tennessee, and yeah, that was kind of surprising to me because after what happened in the Michigan game, I was like, oh well, Ohio State. I think I missed that pick actually on Capital One Bowl Mania picks. I missed it because I picked Tennessee to win because I thought that's what was going to happen, but obviously I was wrong. That was not what happened, and Tennessee did get blown out at home, or not at home. What am I talking about? Sorry, my mind's going blank. They got blown out away at Ohio State, and now Ohio State will play Oregon later on in the Rose Bowl. That will be on New Year's Day as well, so that should be fun to watch. But that was the first round of your 12-team playoff. Like I said, I wasn't really going to go into depth of it. I was just going to kind of say my say in it about how I felt about the first round because really there's nothing to highlight because all the first round matchups were blowouts, so it was just kind of everything was just kind of bleh. It was just there. But the matchups I will highlight though is the quarterfinal matchups coming up in 2 weeks or a week. I think it's 2 weeks. No, it's next week. Next week, yeah. Yeah, next week. Let me drink some water, man. Next week we will have these, I believe. I don't know. Right now it's like all the days are the same almost. But next week we will have on Tuesday, December 31st, the last day of 2024, we will have Penn State and Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl. Penn State's a 10.5 point favorite, and the total is 52.5. I mean, honestly though, I'm gonna like predict who's gonna win this game. This is the way it's gonna work for all the 4 of the playoff matchups that I'm looking at. But I'm gonna predict who I think is gonna win and what I think is gonna happen. I honestly feel like this game between Penn State and Boise State, I feel like Penn State wins with ease. Due to the fact that Penn State has Abdul Carter, they have Tyler Warren, and Drew Allard didn't play a bad game. He started the game bad against SMU, but he inevitably played pretty well at the end of the game and ended up looking pretty good. I feel like if Penn State's defense is good enough against Boise State, which they should be, and I feel like if they're able to limit Genty from getting anything, and also if Warren and Allard connect a few times, I feel like Penn State gets an easy win in the Fiesta Bowl. And that's how I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick Penn State to take the game against Boise, and they will move on to the semifinals, which I believe will be for them. I would believe it's the Cotton Bowl for them. That's the semifinal game. So that should be fun for Penn State. The 6th seed moving on will be nice. And yeah, got Penn State winning by, I'm going to say they win by 2 or 3 touchdowns in this one. Which, if you think about it, Penn State really's got the easiest path to the CFP. finale due to the fact that they've played the 11 seed and they're going to play a 3 seed that's really not that good. So Penn State, yes, they will be moving on and playing in the Cotton Bowl, I think, after they beat Boise State. But that's that game on the 31st, and we got 3 matchups on the 1st of January. And the first matchup, shout out to my boy Taylor Gottney. He goes to Arizona State. He's going to this game. And Texas and Arizona State in the Peach Bowl. This is in Atlanta, Georgia. Texas is actually a 14.5-point favorite, or a 14-point favorite against Arizona State. But look out for this Sun Devils team. This Sun Devils team's been a Cinderella story all season. We're projected to finish last in the Big 12, and we're projected to finish 3-9 on the season overall. So this Arizona State team definitely letting all the haters know who they are. And I think this will be a good game. I think this will be a close game after what I saw Arizona State do in the Big 12 championship game. I think this could be a fun game between these two teams, depending on how Quinn Ewers plays and depending on how good Cam Skattebo is. I think, honestly, I'm going to say this is going to be a close game, and I'm going to take Texas in this one, sadly. It's just going to be by just a little bit. It's going to be by 3. I say Texas wins. I say it's a high-scoring game. I'm going to say 48-45. This is a high-scoring Peach Bowl, and Texas takes the win, and they'll move on to the semifinals, either in the Cotton Bowl or the Orange Bowl. Texas will play. So I see the Longhorns taking away the Peach Bowl from Arizona State with a late field goal. And I say it's going to be a high-scoring matchup in that Peach Bowl in Atlanta. So this should be a fun one. That is Wednesday, January 1st, the first day of 2025. A new year is coming up soon. That's at 12 p.m. on ESPN, so don't forget to check that out. But yes, I got Texas in that matchup. The next matchup we are highlighting, or I'm going to highlight, I don't know, I'm saying we. Next matchup I'm going to highlight is Ohio State and Oregon. This should be a fun one. These two played early in the season, and Oregon got the win. And this one's for the last laugh to see who advances on to the semifinal game. I believe either against Penn State or Texas. And this one, Ohio State's favored by 2.5 after what they did to Tennessee. I honestly see why. But this is in the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California. A lot of Oregon fans are going to show up. Oregon undefeated. Dylan Gabriel been having a great season. Was invited to the Heisman Trophy ceremony. Jeremiah Smith's been having a great season. But I got the Ducks in this one, continue their undefeated season. I'm gonna say this is a close and high-scoring Rose Bowl game. They always are with the Big Ten teams, and I feel like it's gonna be a great game between Oregon and Ohio State. And I got the Ducks winning by 2 touchdowns. They're just that good. I mean, they did it against Penn State. They scored a lot of points and were able to keep a pretty solid lead and win that Big Ten championship. So I got Oregon winning by 2 touchdowns. I could be wrong, but this game will be close for a while, probably till the fourth quarter. But I got Oregon winning, and they'll advance and win their 14th game of the season. So they will meet either Texas or Penn State, according to the way mine's going to set up. So we'll see. But the last matchup of the night is the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans at 7:45 on ESPN. It is Notre Dame in Georgia. And for those that don't know, Georgia is without Carson Beck for the remainder of the season. And yes, this really hurts the Bulldogs' chances to win the Natty, of course. Gunnar Stockton will be their QB. And to be honest, Gunnar Stockton is not a good QB in my opinion. He only had 71 passing yards in the SEC championship, and he ran for maybe a little bit over 100. But Gunnar Stockton was not that good of a player. This Notre Dame team, definitely coming off a huge momentum win against Indiana after everybody kind of thought Indiana was going to come in to Notre Dame Stadium and win. But Notre Dame said, nope, we're taking it to the next round. And I think the Fighting Irish got it here against the Bulldogs. I think Jeremiah Love's going to have a great game. Riley Leonard be able to find some receivers and even get a few rushing yards, like maybe 100 rushing yards in this game for Riley Leonard, I say. But it should be a fun one. in the Sugar Bowl, but I got the Fighting Irish winning by I'm gonna say this is gonna sound crazy, but I'm gonna say 2 touchdowns due to the fact that Gunnar Stockton's playing and not Carson Beck. And I feel like this Notre Dame team will be able to stop Georgia. And this Notre Dame team's definitely boosted up their defensive game a lot. So look out for that Notre Dame defense to kind of stay stationary and be able to compete against a Georgia team that's been really good over the past few years. And yeah, I got Notre Dame winning the All-State Sugar Bowl and moving on. So my 4 teams now that would move to the semifinals, I'm not going to predict that obviously until it comes out, but my 4 teams that would move to the semifinals would be Notre Dame, Penn State, Oregon, and Texas. So that should be a fun Final Four if that ends up happening. That'd be great. And yeah, I'm ready to see what happens next week between these teams in the 12-team playoff. Hopefully, it's a better round than the first round was, since it's at neutral sites. But we'll see. But now, kind of like going away from the 12-team playoff, kind of want to talk about some of the bowl games that happened today. Actually, one is happening right now as we speak. But I mean, one that happened today. Oh man, this might have been like the worst bowl game I've seen yet. We're not gonna count the 12-team playoff bowl games, but this might be a terrible bowl game. Coastal Carolina got beat bad. It was a terrible beat. They got beat 44-15 in the Myrtle Beach Bowl this morning. Kickoff time was 11 a.m. And yeah, Coastal Carolina, I don't think ever woke up from. They decided to sleep in on this one and let UTSA get a big win. UTSA took it 44-15 in the Myrtle Beach Bowl. And UTSA will finish 7-6 on the season, which Coastal will go 6-7 on the season. But honestly, one thing I want to talk about is it's just it kind of was unfair because Coastal had 30 players enter the transfer portal, and they basically were down 30 players for this game. So really, they had nobody. I don't even think they had a real quarterback quarterbacking their team, because they had both of their quarterbacks, Noah Kim and Ethan Vasco, transfer. So yeah, Coastal Carolina gets blown out in the Myrtle Beach Bowl, and obviously I'm not going to talk much about it. It's a small bowl game, Myrtle Beach Bowl. Just before Christmas, it's one of those bowl games that's kind of doesn't matter. It's nothing. But yeah, I just thought I was curious, or I was like curious that there was 30 players out and they didn't decide to drop the bowl game. But yeah, UTSA and Coastal Carolina 44-15. So great season for UTSA and Coastal Carolina. You got a lot to build on next season if you want to get back to that prime that they've been in the past few years. Gotta drink water again, man. I'm not gonna talk about the other bowl game. I might talk about it actually for a little bit. It's at halftime right now. Currently, Fresno State up 13-3 against Northern Illinois in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. That game's going on right now, like I said, on ESPN. Will maybe by the end of this episode it will be over. We'll see. But yeah, only 2 bowl games today. This week's really kind of a slow week for bowl games. Well, at the end of the week, the Birmingham Bowl, Vanderbilt, and Georgia Tech, and a few other decent bowl games are happening. But other than that, there's nothing else really. But we're gonna stick with college football, but we're gonna talk about something big. We're gonna talk about a huge thing that happened this morning. And that big thing that happened this morning was the number 1 wide receiver in the transfer portal committed to the University of Auburn. Auburn University. Eric Singleton Jr., the Georgia Tech wide receiver, announced this morning actually, that he was going to be committing to Auburn University. He chose Auburn over Texas, Ole Miss, LSU, and Miami. And he's going to have 2 more seasons of eligibility when he joins Auburn. He's a sophomore, dynamic playmaker. I mean, just a great player overall. He had 104 caught passes this season, 1,000 yards, scored 10 touchdowns. And Jackson Arnold too. I don't know if you guys heard that as well. I didn't film an episode, but Jackson Arnold also committed to Auburn University, so that will be Auburn's new quarterback. And this Auburn team, the number 1 transfer portal class, and probably will end with that once the transfer portal is over. So This Auburn team, definitely a team next year to look out for, and possibly could be a team that could make a run for, I don't know. I'm not going to say SEC championship just yet. We got to see how things play out, but they could make it to the college football playoff if they're that good. And yeah, Eric Singleton Jr. commits to Auburn. And, also Auburn has Cam Coleman, Malcolm Simmons, Perry Thompson, and Bryce Kane. So this team definitely a stacked team, and they've got some pretty good wide receivers. They got one of the best receiving corps in the country right now with Eric Singleton Jr. joining them. And that's going to be big for the Tigers moving forward. And I can't wait to see what this Tigers team does next year in 2025. But yeah, Eric Singleton Jr. to the Auburn Tigers. So that's a big, big move from Hugh Freeze and his coaching staff. But yeah, that's all I kind of wanted to talk about for college football, because obviously, right now this week, to start the week, is kind of down a little bit. So it's not really much to talk about right now with the way everything's going, except the 12-team playoff was not that good and all that stuff. But yes, we will be moving on from college football. And now let's talk about some NFL football. This, there's some games we could talk about, because really this week was kind of a lot of blowouts. I was kind of surprised. But yeah, let's talk about some NFL football for a second. If you guys did not know, Kirk Cousins did get benched by the Atlanta Falcons. Not looking good for Kirk Cousins. He actually came out yesterday in a statement and said that he's possibly considering retiring. He said if the Falcons do cut him, which probably is inevitable at this point, he will probably take a break for football for a little bit and kind of consider on retiring, which is probably much needed. Kirk Cousins did not have one of the best seasons this year, and it just wasn't good for the Falcons and Kirk Cousins. I mean, the Falcons are 8-7 now, but they were, I believe, 3-0 to start the season, so they were looking good until Cousins started playing bad. And yeah, Kirk Cousins possibly going to get cut from the Falcons. I think he will eventually. But Michael Penix, I mean, he made his NFL debut. Didn't really show much. I mean, he was good enough for the Falcons to win the game, but really the Falcons defense got them the win against New York, 34-7. Pick sixes all over the place in that game. So that was a fun game to watch if you're a Falcons fan. But yeah, 34-7 Falcons Giants get the win. But yeah, Falcons have a new quarterback, Michael Penix Jr., and I want to kind of talk about that for a second. Michael Penix Jr., we saw him last year at Washington, played great, and I honestly think this guy is going to be the future for the Falcons. I think he could get them where they need to go, and I can't wait to see what Michael Penix does next year and years forward, because I think that's going to be one of the big things to look out for is Michael Penix Jr. playing for the Falcons. And to see how good he'll be with Atlanta. Atlanta's kind of been cursed the past few years with the way things have gone in playoff hopes and stuff like that for the Falcons. So Michael Penix might be able to get them there, but we will see. And then also, just going to another game, I'm excited because my Panthers got a win on Sunday. It's been a while. It's been a long time, but we got a win on Sunday, 4-11. I mean, I know it sounds bad, but this team, it's fun to watch, even though they're bad. This team's so fun to watch. Bryce Young had another one of those games. Just gonna kind of show the highlight here. Just look at the screen.
Hubbard to the Hubbard, dancing into the end zone, and a Panthers victory with a touchdown in overtime. Cardinals eliminated from the playoffs.
Game by the Panthers, and they sure as hell played a great game against the Cardinals and eliminated the Cardinals from playoff contention, 36-30 in overtime. And yeah, what a game by Carolina. And glad to see them win on their final home game of the season. They got Tampa Bay next week, so should be a fun one in Tampa Bay. But really, I mean, we had some great games later on in the slate. It wasn't early on was terrible, but later on in the day, you had the Eagles and Commanders. This game was, oh my gosh, this game. I watched this game and I was like, I would turn my head and then it would be touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. Like it's crazy. Jaden Daniels played a heck of a game. He had 24 for 39, 258 yards passing, and 5 touchdown passes. What a game by Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. They ended up coming back at the end and winning. But guess what? The Eagles fans, I mean, they're pissed right now because 5 turnovers by the Eagles and they still lose the game. If you're a Philly fan, I would be worried right now because that possibly could ruin your chance to get like a good seed or home field advantage. That was not good by Philly. Saquon had a pretty good game, 29 carries, 150 yards, 2 TDs, but still, I mean, wasn't enough for the Eagles to get the win. Lost 36-33 and just didn't go the Eagles' way in this matchup between Eagles and Commanders. So, big win for the Commanders. They improved to 10-5 and they're this close to making a playoff spot. So can't wait to see what the Commanders do, and I hope they make the playoffs because that's gonna be a fun team to watch. Could be like the Texans were last year in the playoffs. But going away from the Eagles-Commanders game, we did have another thriller on Sunday Night Football between the Buccaneers and Cowboys, and I mean, what the heck happened at the end of this game? So Baker Mayfield almost gets sacked. He's dragging a defender. Actually, I'm going to show the clip here really quick. Just like look at the screen.
Look at the pressure look. Showing the pressure. Here it comes from the back. Jordan Lewis got there. Mayfield pitches it forward. Somehow he got it to White. Rachaad White gets a gain out of that. The ball taken away by the Cowboys. White was on the way down and Deron Bland took it away.
Yeah, you saw right there in the clip, though, that Baker Mayfield literally was dragging the defender with him, and he throws it to White. White barely holds on to the ball, and then all of a sudden Deron Bland just pulls it out, and it's a fumble recovery. So, I mean, honestly, this is a huge loss for the Buccaneers. 8-7. This could possibly eliminate them from playoff contention, and the Cowboys are already out of playoff contention, but they're winning 7-8 on the season. Just a crazy ending to week 16, and did not expect that to happen. Actually, week 15. Did not expect that to happen between the Buccaneers and Cowboys. It was a heck of an ending, and Deron Bland gets the fumble recovery and wins the Cowboys the game. What an ending on Sunday Night Football, and the Buccaneers got to hope they beat the Panthers next week, or else they will be eliminated from playoff contention. Well, that is going to do it for episode 4 of the Halftime Sports Talk Show. I'm your host, Reese Kinder. I hope you guys enjoy your Christmas, and we will be back before New Year's to recap. Obviously, we didn't do college basketball today or anything like that. Just really tired of talking right now because my teeth still kind of hurt. So we're going to, next week, hopefully we're back healthy. And hope you guys enjoy your Christmas and have a happy New Year.